Welcome to my channel Alien Signal. For centuries, the Galactic Coalition believed they understood the nature of strength. Across thousands of star systems, countless civilizations had risen and fallen. Some species possessed skin-like armor, bones harder than metal, and bodies capable of surviving the vacuum of space for minutes at a time. Others could regenerate limbs or endure temperatures that would melt steel. And then there were humans. According to Coalition records, humans ranked among the weakest intelligent species ever discovered. Their skin tore easily, their bones broke, their lifespans were short. Even their own planet constantly tried to kill them with storms, disease, earthquakes, and predators. To the Coalition, humanity was a biological curiosity, nothing more. They called them fragile thinkers. Intelligent, creative, but fragile. That assumption would change after Incident KX-17. The mission. The exploration vessel Orion's Reach drifted silently through the uncharted Perseus expanse. The ship carried a mixed crew representing 5 different civilizations of the Coalition. Commander Versh, a towering reptilian from the Varek Dominion, led the mission. His species possessed natural armored scales and could survive severe trauma without difficulty. Beside him was scientist Talari, an aquatic being whose translucent skin glowed faintly with bioluminescent patterns. There were also the insectoid engineers from Hive Kelta and 2 crystalline navigators from the Silicate worlds. And finally, there was Lieutenant Mara Hayes, the only human aboard. Most Coalition members initially questioned the decision to include a human on a deep space mission. Commander Versh had openly objected. Humans are structurally inefficient, he had said during the briefing. Their physical durability is extremely low. A minor accident could eliminate them. But the Coalition insisted on diversity among exploratory crews. So Mara Hayes came along. At first, the crew treated her like fragile equipment. They monitored atmospheric pressure near her station. They worried about temperature fluctuations. They even installed extra padding in areas where humans might walk. Mara found it both amusing and slightly insulting. But she ignored it. Humans were used to being underestimated. The Discovery. 3 months into the mission, the Orion's Reach detected something unusual. A rogue planet drifting between star systems. No sun, no life. Yet deep within the frozen crust, sensors detected powerful energy readings. Commander Versh ordered an investigation. A landing team descended to the surface. The team included Commander Versh, Scientist Talari, 2 Kelta engineers, Lieutenant Mara Hayes. The planet's surface temperature was -180 degrees Celsius. For most species, survival required heavy environmental suits. But the readings beneath the surface were impossible to ignore. Buried deep underground was an enormous structure. Artificial, ancient, possibly millions of years old. The catastrophe. The team drilled through layers of frozen rock until they reached a massive subterranean chamber. Inside stood a colossal machine unlike anything the Coalition had ever seen. A sphere the size of a city, covered in unknown symbols, still, active. As Talari scanned the device, energy levels suddenly spiked. "Commander," she said urgently, "this machine is not dormant. It appears to be generating power." Before anyone could react, the ground shook violently. The ancient system awakened. A massive energy surge blasted through the chamber. The ceiling collapsed. Rock, ice, and metal crashed down. The explosion destroyed half the landing site and severed communication with the Orion's Reach. Above, when the dust settled, only one life signal remained active. The impossible survivor. From orbit, the Orion's Reach detected the signal. Commander Versh, Scientist Talari, the Kelta engineers, all gone. Only Mara Hayes remained alive. The crew assumed it was a sensor error. Humans could not possibly survive such an event. The explosion had been equivalent to a small nuclear blast. But the signal continued, weak, yet unmistakably human. Down in the buried chamber, Mara Hayes slowly regained consciousness. Her helmet visor was cracked. Her suit was partially destroyed. Pain radiated through her body. She tried to move. Her left arm screamed in agony. Broken. Her ribs felt like shattered glass. Blood filled her mouth. She coughed and tasted iron. Okay, she whispered to herself. Not ideal. The chamber around her had collapsed into darkness. The ancient machine still pulsed faintly in the center of the room. Radiation warnings flashed across her damaged visor. Most species would already be dead. But humans were strange creatures. Fragile on paper, unpredictable in reality. The climb. Mara checked her suit's systems. Oxygen. Limited. Medical support. Offline. Communication. Destroyed. The only way to survive was to reach the surface. Unfortunately, she was 2 kilometers underground. The collapsed tunnels offered only narrow passages through unstable rock. Her broken arm hung uselessly. Every breath stabbed her chest. But she began climbing, slowly, one painful step at a time. Observers in orbit. Aboard the Orion's Reach, the crew watched in stunned silence. They had deployed micro-drones through the collapsed tunnels. The footage showed Mara crawling through darkness. Bleeding, breathing unevenly, but moving. Scientist Talari's replacement analyst stared at the readings. This is not biologically plausible. Commander Versh, now watching his own presumed death recording, was equally shocked. The drones showed Mara dragging herself through tight rock passages barely wider than her body. At one point she fell nearly 10 meters down a broken shaft. She screamed. The drones detected a fracture in her leg. Yet she kept moving. Hours passed. Then a full day. Still she climbed. Human persistence. By the 3rd day, Mara's oxygen should have been gone. But she had found an emergency air pocket from a collapsed mining tunnel. By the 5th day, dehydration should have killed her. But she had melted ice from the cave walls. By the 7th day, infection and trauma should have shut down her body. But humans evolved on a planet where survival required stubbornness beyond logic. Every step hurt. Every breath burned. Still she moved. The drones captured her muttering to herself. Talking. Laughing weakly. At one point she looked directly at the drone camera and said, "Tell the ship, I'm not done yet." The alien observers were speechless. No species in the Coalition database behaved like this. Most organisms shut down after catastrophic trauma. But humans refused to stop. The final barrier. After 9 days underground, Mara finally reached the last obstacle. A vertical ice wall, nearly 30 meters high. Above it was the surface. Her suit had only minutes of power left. Her body had almost nothing left to give. She stared at the wall. Then laughed. Of course, she wheezed. Of course there's a wall. Using fragments of metal from the wreckage, she improvised climbing spikes. Her broken arm barely worked. Her leg trembled violently. Halfway up, she slipped. The drones recorded her hanging by one hand. Below her was a fall that would end everything. The crew aboard the Orion's Reach held their breath. Slowly, painfully, Mara pulled herself up again, and kept climbing. The moment that changed everything. 10 hours later, Mara Hayes dragged herself onto the frozen surface of the rogue planet. Her suit was failing. Her vitals were critical, but she had done the impossible. The rescue shuttle landed minutes later. When the medics carried her aboard, one of the alien engineers stared in disbelief. How is this organism still alive? Commander Versh himself stood silently beside the medical pod. He studied the human carefully. Fragile skin, broken bones, weak musculature. Yet this same creature had survived an explosion, radiation exposure, days without proper oxygen, multiple fractures, and a 2-kilometer climb through collapsing tunnels. Finally, Versh spoke. For cycles we believed humans were fragile. He looked at Mara Hayes. Then corrected himself. No, they are simply unbreakable in ways we do not understand. The new reputation of humanity. The story of Incident KX-17 spread rapidly through the Galactic Coalition. Alien scholars studied the recordings. Military strategists reviewed the data repeatedly. Biologists attempted to explain the phenomenon. They failed. The conclusion reached by the Coalition Council was simple. Humans were not physically powerful compared to other species. They were not armored. They were not immortal. But they possessed something far more dangerous. Relentless survival instinct. A psychological refusal to surrender even when logic demanded it. And because of that, the Coalition changed humanity's classification. No longer fragile thinkers. Instead, they received a new designation. Endurance predators. A species capable of surviving the impossible. Epilogue. Months later, Mara Hayes finally recovered aboard a Coalition medical station. Her body still carried scars. Her bones had been reinforced with alien technology. But she was alive. During a diplomatic ceremony, Commander Versh approached her. "I owe you an apology," he said. Mara smiled. "For what?" "For underestimating your species." She laughed softly. "Don't worry. Happens a lot." Versh looked out the observation window toward the endless stars. "Your survival has changed how the galaxy views humanity." Mara raised an eyebrow, hopefully in a good way. Versh nodded slowly. "Yes, most species fear monsters." He paused. "But now they understand something more terrifying." "What's that?" Mara asked. Versh turned toward her. "A fragile creature that simply refuses to die." And across the galaxy, civilizations began rewriting everything they thought they knew about humans. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more cinematic science fiction stories.